The city of Philadelphia passed a new law that makes short term rental landlords get a hotel license even if they live in the property and are just renting out a spare bedroom. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the whole short-term rental, topic. Okay, so as I've said before on other videos, I am not opposed to short-term rentals, and I've actually considered investing in them before. But part of the reason I haven't is because a lot of cities, a lot of municipalities, they hate them. Okay, and they are going after them hard. They're passing a lot of new laws and restrictions against them to make it as difficult as possible to operate these businesses. So yeah, they're trying to push people away from them because they think that, hey, they're actually hurting the housing market. They're taking away properties from people who need affordable housing. Well, I disagree, okay? And I've always disagreed. I don't believe that short-term rentals are making any impact at all overall on a housing market. In fact, I think that, if anything, they're helping the housing market. They're making the area more attractive. They're making property values in areas increase because people want to visit these places. People aren't putting short-term rentals in places that people do not want to visit, okay? And that's part of my reasoning here. So when they pass all these new laws and these new regulations, the only thing they're doing is scaring away investment, lowering their property values, and making their cities less desirable places to visit, because there are a lot of people who prefer to stay in a short-term rental versus going to an expensive hotel, especially when you're traveling in a large group, such as in a large family, okay? So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, and maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, okay? As a landlord, what do you think of short-term rentals? Do you think that these are a good thing for a city, or do you think they're a bad thing? And I know there's people who disagree with me, and I don't mind, okay? I put my opinions out there, and I'm just curious what everyone else thinks about the topic. If you think that short-term rentals are bad for long-term rentals, they're bad for the city overall, put it down in the comments, and maybe I'll throw a video up and we can discuss the issue a tad bit more. But anyway, let's get into this article and see what it's about. This article is coming from therealdeal.com, and it says, new short-term rental law takes effect in Philadelphia. So yeah, this is going over this new law that's, putting some pretty heavy licensing requirements on anybody who has a short-term rental in Philadelphia. So let's get into the article and see what it says. The new year also brings new laws that take effect in various parts of the country. A new Philadelphia law, which goes into effect today, will significantly impact Airbnb and similar online brokers by requiring short-term hosts who live in their rental units to obtain a limited lodging operator license, the Philadelphia Inquirer reported. While inexpensive, the license also means hosts have to adhere to other requirements to ensure their units are up to code. Owners who don't live in the units they're renting have to obtain a hotel license. So, basically from those first three paragraphs, whether you live in the unit and you're just renting out a spare bedroom, or whether you are, using an entire unit or house or whatever as a short-term rental, you have to get a license from the city. And, this is what they're pushing toward. They're like, oh, we want to make sure that everything is up to code, right? But if you pay attention to the codes, they're always going to be more strict than they are for long-term rentals, more strict than they would for owner-occupied houses. And they're going to make you jump through a whole bunch of hoops, maybe get inspections, etc. And you know what this is really going to do? This is going to create a black market, okay? And this is what happened in places like New York, right? So in New York City, there's a ton of short-term rentals that are not licensed with the city, and the owners don't care because they would rather, go ahead, rent these places out, make a ton of money, and then pay any small possible fines that they receive than, try to jump through the hoops that the city puts in place. So that's exactly what's going to happen here in Philadelphia as well, in my opinion, okay? The people who are operating these, they're not going to suddenly say, oh, well, we're going to cripple our own business, or take on tons of, costs that they can't make up for. They're just going to say, we're just not even going to participate in your, thing. And then if you decide to fine us, a few $100, so be it, And I I can't say that I agree with that way of doing business, right? Because I always say follow the laws within your jurisdiction, do as they command, and if you don't like it, go somewhere where the laws are more favorable to you. That's what I say. But I understand why some landlords they can't do that. They bought into their properties and they had one set of rules when they bought in, and they changed the rules in the middle of the game, and that's going to cost them big in the long run. And so I understand why they do that. Owners then have to provide their license numbers to online brokers such as Airbnb. The online companies will be liable for violations, meaning they're responsible for enforcement of the license provisions for owners to list their properties. The companies will be liable for any violations. The city expects that means the tech platforms will not allow those without licenses to list their properties, right? And that might be the case, right? But, there's, growing move away from these platforms for short-term rentals, right? And I've seen that. Now people are going to direct bookings where the customer can book directly with the short-term rental operator. And that is working out better because there's a lot less fees and costs involved. So a person might be able to rent a short-term rental for a significantly lower cost than what they would have to if they had to go through Airbnb. Plus, having a middleman in there slows down the process, makes getting paid slower for the operators or for the landlords, and makes booking a lot slower for the people who want to rent the place. Okay, so I can see what's going to probably happen is if these operators, these landlords who are operating these short-term rentals say, hey, I have to jump through these hoops if I am listing my thing on this platform, they're just not going to list on that platform. Or they'll find a different platform they can list on that doesn't have to comply by these rules, right? This isn't going to stop illegal short-term rentals from existing. The only thing it's going to do is change the way the game is played. Okay, that's why I say, they're wasting their time a lot of cases when they pass these laws because they end up punishing the good landlords, right? The good landlords who are going to, follow all the rules, all the laws, all the regulations, but they already did. They already kept their properties in good shape. They already, made sure that everything was licensed. They paid their taxes. They did everything right. And now they're the ones who are going to get punished by all of this and the additional costs and the licenses and hoops they have to jump through. And instead, the bad landlords, I'm not even going to call them bad in this situation, but the landlords who don't want to abide by the rules, they are not going to have to do anything other than possibly pay a small fine at some point in time. So, yeah, who knows why they think that this is going to be the catalyst for change. They always pass a lot of rules and a lot of laws, and the only thing they're really doing is restricting people's property rights, taking away our ability to make a living, taking away our ability to do what we want and as we see fit with the property that we own, and then turning that over to the government because they think the government is the solution to every problem. And that's what all these socialists and these far left progressives believe. They think that government is the solution. No, it is the reason that we have so many problems, in my opinion. The law was passed in 2021 to provide more oversight after a series of issues arose concerning short-term rentals, the outlet reported. The city, since 2015, has required owners of short-term rentals to obtain zoning permits for businesses that were run out of their homes. And it's always been illegal for owners who live off-site to rent out their properties without a hotel license. But those rules weren't enforced often, if at all, according to the Inquirer. See, and there we go right there, okay? The rules they put in place back in 2015 to cover short-term rentals weren't enforced at all. And I am betting that a lot of the landlords, a lot of the people who are operating these short-term rentals in Philadelphia, they are confident that these new rules won't be enforced either. And I personally wouldn't believe they'd be enforced either if I saw that, hey, well, for the last 6-7 years, they didn't give a crap. They let us do whatever we want. We didn't jump through these hoops or nothing. And, very few people actually, had the enforcement arm come after them. So they were like, well, maybe I should take my chances. Or they could go out and they could get this special zoning permit, which they probably won't be able to get. That's the other thing, right? They say, oh, well, you have to go to this special zoning permit if you want to operate, right? they probably won't be able to get it. They will not issue this thing, or you're going to have to pay out your butt in order to get it. So I truly doubt that anybody was sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, well, I'm going to, abide by these rules," and thinking that they were going to easily be able to operate a business. But let's go back here, right? I'm not going to say that you should operate any business illegally. What I will say is you should find a place where you can operate your short-term rental and you don't have to jump through these hoops, and that's probably the best course of action rather than sitting here and trying to fight against, this city government that obviously hates short-term rentals.